Hi guys, thank you so much for joining me. Polina here, talking to you about the new moon happening on the 4th of August. But before we go into the details of this very important time, here's a little message. Thank you. Like, subscribe, comment, join my Patreon website. You will find everything on the website. Look at the books, I've got many of them. Look at my latest video. The track is on Bandcamp. Facebook, Instagram, thank you. Hello. Okay, so anyway, the moon is going to definitely be new, and it is going to be right conjunct the sun in Leo. And also, just in case you wanted to see more of my wares, I have recently created a little music video that you can indeed also purchase the track for. Anyway, oh god. Is there anything important? So the first things first, this new moon is looking actually really exciting for all of us because it is going to get things done. We have a opposition between the moon and this amazing Pluto in Aquarius. So there's definitely going to be a change for us all, and we are going to get things together that we haven't gotten together for a long time. So there's big changes happening on the soul plane, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Lion's Gate, which usually happens on the 8th of the 8th. I'm not really a believer, but sometimes I do have to admit, quite often every year there's an interesting occurrence that usually happens around this time, and it is quite an interesting one. So this moon is landing on the 4th of August, and on the 8th of August people say there is the Lion's Gate. Is there? I'm not sure, but maybe there is. So let's talk a little bit about this particular time. We have a very strong Jupiter conjunct Mars. There's going to be a lot of longing, a lot of feeling, and a lot of time spent really caring about things. And for some people, there's definites. There's a definite yes or a definite no. Usually, Leo likes to construct a reality from the obvious. We also have Venus-Mercury conjunction, so there's quite a big amount of peace and care put into certain things. Maybe with art and design, maybe with how you speak or how you think, you will put a little bit more care into it. Now, Mercury is really happy in Virgo, but Venus is not. So she's just going to be on the last degree of Leo there. So this is the last showdown. Maybe you have some very big questions in mind, or you want to really put your extra into your music or your words. But I would advise at this point, if you're starting anything new and anything very surreal or very caring and very beautiful, I would definitely suggest with a pinch of salt. So you have to be epic and just within yourself without trying to get lucky, without trying so hard to get views or attention, without trying super hard to make it in any kind of world. And that includes the corporate world, it includes the social world, it includes also love and some kind of story making with people, because it is not going to be good for you to put a lot into it, as it is not going to be justified. With Venus going into Virgo very soon, sometimes things are put into perspective and they are sort of boiled down to a minimum. So if you are familiar with cooking, you know, you get like a reduction, like a sauce reduction. This is what I'm talking about. So this Venus basically likes to put things into a perfect sort of 10 out of 10 result. This Venus is very close to Virgo, and she's going to want you to shush. Sometimes she'll want you to do things just as perfectly as you can, and quite often we'll get a very automated result or a very specific result that Virgo Mercury conjunction wants from us during this time. Yes, of course, there is South Node and Lilith conjunction. We are going to want more, and it is going to quite often be offered to you. So that's the thing. The thinking pattern is not necessarily about making things perfect, but more about getting what you want. It is about results. If you are very insatiable, if you wanted something or somebody for a long time, it could be really exact time to get it right. With South Node neutralizing Lilith. So what this means is what you've wanted for a long time, what you cared for, or maybe sometimes the person that you loved for ages will suddenly be more available to you, or there's going to be a result that you've been waiting for that is going to become a little bit less dramatic or a little bit less sort of far-fetched. So that means that increasingly with time, there's going to be more obvious results coming up. People are going to show up that you've been waiting for, and on occasion, for some people, you will manifest your desired result. But in certain relationships, in certain activity, there is not actually going to be enough. There's a very interesting sense of scarcity with this Mercury and the Venus also going into Virgo. There's going to be not enoughness. So sometimes there's not enough. That means that there's going to be a cut. Sometimes there's not enough food in the fridge. Sometimes there's not enough people visiting your site. Sometimes there's not enough information, or sometimes there's a lack or missing ingredients. So what I would probably suggest is by and by, take your steps further. Understand that you are speaking from the heart now. A lot of people will inevitably try to reach that part of themselves, that part of their soul that they've really been missing and wanting to speak. This is a dragon year, so people will want to invest in themselves, and from the nitty-gritty of the world, they'll want to work out things in such a way that they get a really solid inner intuitive perspective. So people are not necessarily working for the riches and the wealth, although some people are. It's not necessarily about getting credits. It's not about having no doubts. In some ways, it is going to be about that, and in others, there is a more whole and very graceful perspective to all of this. So that means that some people are actually waiting for something to happen to them or around them that is very, very deep and phenomenal. So I'm not telling you that everybody's going to have this. I'm not saying that every single person is going to achieve it. But some people with their projects, with their next couple of steps, or with their next planning, they're going to be looking and wishing for a greater wisdom. And I definitely believe and trust that certain people are going to get there quite quickly. And for quite a few of us, we're going to get it, and it's going to be like no surprise. So it is about getting results. It's about getting achieved. Also, yes, of course, with this Pluto to Neptune at a sextile sort of conversation, almost at a sextile, there's going to be definitely a lot of teaching, a lot of giving, and a lot of grace given to many people in a story. There's going to be a lot of love. If you can understand and see yourself also in the future, but also understand your past, as there's lots of retrogrades in the sky, and there's lots of need for us to really, really be here in the heart, really be here in who we are, and be honest and truthful about what we've participated in, about who our parents are, what our friends mean to us. So we need to be really, really honest and really kind to ourselves, kind to our souls, and the very crux of our beings, in order to actually dominate the field, for example. So to put out the best art that you've ever put out, you have to get real. So it's not just about copy-paste. Unfortunately, you'll see a lot of that online, and you'll think, oh yeah, AI, or like copy-paste. Yeah, we just have to copy each other and just see what each other's done. I don't think so. So I feel this is also about the individual, the talent of the individual. We do have Uranus kind of almost at a trine with Pluto. So there is like a very, very nice significance and a feeling of searching for something innocent and something real and something relevant. And it's not just about this, it's about reaching out from within. So it's not about finding a reality that doesn't exist anymore or never will. It's not about trying to see some kind of far-fetched result in your life. It's not about having no root system. It's about a nice, rooted, simplistic way of looking at your life, and also using your light for the greater truth and with greater confidence. As yes, also this Neptune is going to activate the moon into producing a very, very strong and a very deep relationship, because they are almost at a trine. So it is a very, very nice significance that we're looking for. We're looking for a real result. We're looking for something real to come out. And sometimes we really want our legacy, or our home, or our wisdom, or our true personality, or our true presence to be something that eventually gets mixed up with the past and the present, and may eventually make it to the future. So this is about the legacy. It's about the ancestors. It's about the now, and also potentially sometimes it's about, and like for some people, 10, 20 years time, or just what your children and your grandchildren are going to receive eventually from you. And yes, it is kind of tough, because we are now printing very deeply with this moon and sun and Leo conjunct. It's a very, very deeply penetrative time, and Leo in the dragon year really wants to heal. It really wants to feel. It wants these results to be very deep. It's about the veins in the body. It's about the blood flow. It's about the heart. It's about the circulation. It's about the truths being spoken. It's about the all-inspiring truth some of the time, and some of the time it won't be. So for people that are just skimming it lightly, it's absolutely okay to copy and paste what others have created. It's absolutely okay to make a predictable result, and it is fine to make something that somebody else would feel is okay. So the question maybe is about talent. Maybe it's about truth. For some people, it is about respect. It's about law and order as well, as we do have Mercury and Venus slowly walking into Virgo. And in certain results, in certain situations, also in certain family trees, it's not going to be really anymore about them. It's about this overall truth or a global truth. There is also a question of functionality and faith. And will this truth be the real truth? And some people may ask, will you be there for me in the end? You know, will you stay here with me? Are you going to be what I expected you to be? Or are you going to be what I thought you would be? So there is this lull. And they're going to be definitely people trying to make villages, trying to make communities, trying to bring up their children. There are a lot of people actually really wishing for something to stay, because there is this kind of interesting thing. Leo does like to blow things out of proportion. He does like to enjoy things to their limit and to bring them up really quickly. He likes to escalate results and get some really wholesome alpha energies involved and invested in the moments. But then also at the same time, Leo has this other side, that repetitive side. It's like, if I want to get it done, it has to be done right. I have to pay attention. I have to make sure that the result is good enough for me to keep. And yes, sometimes we have thoughts or fantasies, but they may not necessarily make it to the credited physical real life picture. And the reason why I'd say this is because some of the time we wouldn't want that to show up on our resume. So it is very likely some people would want to hush, and they may also want to censor others because they simply don't want to become that later in the future, or they may feel incredible fear or incredible frustration that certain things didn't come true. And for that reason, there's going to be a lot of makeup and hair and trying to kind of slide the result towards where you want it to be. So there's a lot of fussing in the background. So this means very elaborately planned weddings and retreats, reunions, very elaborately constructed words and rhythms, and also very much changes in the educational system, changes in the government. We want it all to look beautiful. In the end, we want everything to look fine and sparkly. We may not sometimes really worry about what it is we're presenting, just as long as it looks pretty. And some of the time that really shows. So it's not necessarily about the money or the wealth factor. It's not necessarily about, you know, how I said before, the bourgeois factor, or the factor of just having this cookie cutter relationship with life and with source. It's not necessarily always going to be about this, but in certain instances, people will muchly prefer that kind of safe result. They're going to prefer the safely executed design, and it's definitely going to be a preference for something sparkly, fresh and romantic, something that makes us feel inspired, and of course people that feel like too good to be true. So it's not necessarily about presence alone, it's also about originality, but no, it's about practicality. Venus is at the end of Leo. She wants things to fit together, so there's like a deep need to get things perfect and good, and there's going to be many questions asked. So if you are at the moment between different states, if you are handing in your papers, if you are working with law and order, if you are also repeating certain cycles with friends and family, please be assured that some of the time you are not going to make it unless your credentials and unless your written reports, or unless your, I don't know, like your stamps and, you know, different types of papers, credentials, I don't know, are completely thorough and true. Because you see, Venus is slowly going to walk into Virgo, and she's going to be naturally opposing Saturn, who is in Pisces, and that's going to make us feel very flamboyant sometimes and kind of out of time, and it may feel like we don't have any limit because she's opposite Saturn, she's opposite density, but that's going to make a very hard grind. And some people may indeed be persecuted. Some people also may even strangely find a certain demise. There could be, for example, businesses closing down. There could be personalities walking offline. There could be people that are not presentable anymore, or that are considered not to be presented in the public eye. There's definitely media that's going to be taken offline. There's going to be censorship to some degree, or there's going to be a certain type of cleansing, however you see it, and it might definitely be happening in the social world, and it might be happening all around you. So it's very, very important to make it very clear as to what you're trying to say, because it's not that I'm trying to foreshadow this, but there's going to be definitely a certain type of grim ending to some of our equations, and there may indeed this month already be certain persecution for certain things that we've done and said, and there could be definitely also a romance with the other side. It's like a certain type of emotional position to run away, to pick up your bags and just to fly, and not to be in the face of danger, or not to be in the face of romance. And of course, in some countries in the world, this is serious. In some places in the world, we do have to respect that there could be a serious escalation of certain type of crisis point, also when it comes to like nationalism, or certain questions about like identity and authority, and anything to do also with war and governments. But I don't want to make this video so dense. So yeah, there's going to be a question of servitude as well, and of who's above and who's below, and maybe in your own errands and events and adventures, it is about not necessarily dominance of one thing or one person over the other, but it could definitely be part of the question mark. And in some sequences, it's not going to be just about that. It's going to be about dominance of a certain concept over the other concept. So this could be happening within you. This could be happening within your genealogy. This could be happening within your history. So maybe this is an identity crisis that some people are experiencing on a lighter scale of this. And for certain people, it's not going to be just about this. It's just about the truth, because we want to say, what is the true value of this? What am I actually truly experiencing or expecting from life, or expressing? How am I going to be later on in the end? So we do definitely want to ask, what is the seed? How is it going to grow? What is the rhythm of this? What is the meaning of this? Or what are the different meanings that I'm associating to any event or idea in my life? And what is it going to be? What is it going to come to? So yeah, there is like this flamboyant, vibrant, energetic feeling that this month has. Sorry for any noises in the background. But there is definitely going to be a certain type of limited worldview for some people, and there's going to be, in certain cases, not significant, not enough respect, or not enough connection. So we have to be very humble, and we have to understand that we are being persecuted or judged sometimes in a time like that, especially as Venus is going to come to oppose Saturn later on in the month. And there is a questionable feeling about it all, and there is a question of whether you do or do not want to take on a mission. There's also going to be a question of whether or not certain things mean something to you or not. So in a sense, it is going to be a question of values and systems and stories and storylines, and if you want to take something from the past, put it into the now and take care of it in the future, or if you don't. So the main concept here is that we are working with concepts of time and space, of creativity, of legacy now. In some situations, we're talking family tree, and like a family longing also to be understood or recognized. So sometimes you think it's your ego or your willpower that's actually plowing through, but no, it's not all of the story. Sometimes there's lots of people that haven't been heard or expressed, so you might start to express something for yourself in a certain way. I feel it's not really necessarily about putting things out there and wanting to do things better. It's not about the naive step either, because although Moon and Leo, a new Moon in Leo is usually quite naive, yet robust, it's kind of about whether or not you want to take it further, whether or not you want to take your job further, whether or not you want to take your relationship further. And sometimes things can be on the rocks for a while, or a question enters your mind again and again for a while. Did I really need to do this? Do I really want to be part of this group? Do I really want to be part of these people? So the questions may eventually become eternal unless you really work it out now. So how to do it? Formal contracts. For example, if you've been offered a contract, you've been signed to a brand, or you've been signed to a certain type of design, you had somebody sign you to a job, or you've just recently been chosen or somehow evicted or sometimes raised up, given an option, or if you've been wanted to be somewhere, you will see it. If you don't have any leads, that's hard. For example, if you've become such a master of your life that nobody actually really necessarily respects you or questions you, you can do as you like, but also within this comes an internal contract, an internal question mark. Am I this or am I that? Am I going to be more like this or am I gonna be more like that in the future? And these are sometimes the biological question marks. Do I want to work out every second day? Do I want to eat as much as I can always? Do I want to become kind of like old and wise, or do I want to be young and free? You know, do I want to make it up as I go, or do I want to just embed that which I've got? So these questions are, should I stay or should I go? And in some situations, it's not just about this, it's about the history that you are knitting between yourselves and one another. And it's also about the quality of time that you're spending. How do you wish to perfect that which you've got going on? Also, if you did or didn't want to reject yourself or evict yourself out of a situation or a storyline, it's actually very easy to just say nah and forget everything that you've ever done, said, or been a part of. It's also very easy to cut something or somebody out of the situation. So there are permanent feelings, like for example, you start cutting your hair short, and this is going to be just like probably your style for the rest of your life, or for the majority of your life, or you might be remembered for that which you've got on your person. So for example, any regalia, anything that you've got on your person, for example, if you wear copious amounts of makeup, or if you're wearing a suit, or if you have a certain type of passport, if you have a certain type of degree, some of the time they will let people know about you before you walk in through the door. So some of the time these are exquisite externalized factors as to what makes a man or a woman somebody. You know, this is about how they want to be treated also later. So please consider, now this is an interesting question. There is a lot of orchestration, and there are people that are going to try to have also connections with certain people that look good and that look reputable. There's definitely a lot of also stealing, like stealing of materials. There's like stealing of energy. There's theft. There's as Lilith as next to the South Node as well. There's going to be people wanting to be like other people, replicating them, copying their makeup style, copying their hair, copying their words, copying their materials. And then in contrast to that, we will probably go through a lot of resurfacing. And within ourselves, if you are a true thinker and a real person, you might not necessarily need all of this. You might not need any of this kind of like hullabaloo that's happening in families, or like in certain parts of society, or social trees, or like social myceliums. You might simply not care for it enough. And then this process will be, now this is hard. If you're a poet, you will know what I'm saying. This process will be redefined within the self. So if you are a real true seeker, and you are a true lover of the universe, and you really, really want to take the opportunity to define, redefine, see, and love yourself more, and if you want to become a little bit more beautiful within yourself, and you want to become a little bit more extra and special to yourself, for yourself, it's not necessary what other people are thinking. It's not necessary what they think you should or should not wear. It's not important what the paparazzi say and what other people may say about you. It's not important what's in fashion and style. And this comes from a really true pure heart. So it's just about Zen logic. It's about being outside of time and space. It's about being unquotable. So that means that you eventually become almost like an island, or like a ship that is sailing the seas. And you don't necessarily need or wish for anybody to any longer speak to you or talk about you. You don't need to be invited, and you definitely don't need to be spoken of. So that's a very, very hard place to be, because it's almost like being an island, as I said, or a mountain, or just like a ship at sea. So it's not necessarily about isolation, though. It's just about being epic within yourself. And for sure, you can have a family life, you can have a busy job and everything like that. But this means that you'll get to sculpt yourself as the piece of art that you are going to eventually be. So this is not about making things up. This is not about like writing a tabloid and putting it out so everybody can see it. It's more about self-development, like from a capital you know, self-development and making meanings that seem right for you. So it's just about contrasts, understanding the different types of self-representation, personality types. And also if you do have some kind of like a barrier with yourself, or if you have some kind of head knocking that happens, not necessarily with other people or how people think or feel these days, it's just happening inside of you. And for the really smart person, you know, as Virgo is the next sign to Leo, and she does speak of being alkaline and healthy, and she's kind of like quality control sign, and she really wants you to do the errands and make sure that you're careful and that you drink a lot of water and that you do exactly what needs to be done for yourself. So Virgo is kind of like this nurse that knows some damage has already been done, so she's just trying to repeat the patterns that are more perfect, and she's trying to balance things out until Libra has a perfect balance. So if you can imagine, you can already reach this balance if you want. If you are early, you can already actually do this by now. So that means you are working with your system, you're keeping your body alkaline, you don't worry about what you've said and done, you're trying to find the rhythm, and you're trying to teach yourself to be more in the now and more actual today, more actualized. So that means nothing really matters to you. What somebody said or done before shouldn't matter. You don't need to watch any kind of media online. You don't have to think about anybody. You just basically trying to put yourself into the real solid version of what Leo is. And Leo is the perfect human heart. And sometimes Leo can also represent the perfect human body, as it is a very perfect sign, and it usually has a certain romantic, sexy and flamboyant flavor. It is the artistry of life. It is artistry over just simple things. And sure, for example, Aries is the first fire sign, and it suggests, yeah, you know, that there is brawn and intellect and strength needed, especially with Chiron and North Node. In Aries at the moment, we really need to, like, you know, be empowered and embodied. We need to be extra. But Leo is an artful version of that fire. And in a sense, to me, a very perfect version of that flame is the capability of treating each one of your moments as a creative moment, and being creative in your life, and also being able to find your outcomes yourself, and understanding that you are not capable sometimes of pleasing everybody. And you're not necessarily here for the reason of serving somebody else. You're not necessarily here to serve your mother or your father. You're not necessarily here to serve anybody. You don't need to serve your government. You don't need to serve your best friend. You don't need anybody. You just basically have to live an automated existence where everything automatically is abundant, which is where we're all going. Everything doesn't need to be said 3 times over. You don't have to try to put all the passion and artistry into just something very uneasy for you. Maybe there is a better job. Maybe there is a better flow. Maybe there's a better way of treating your body. Maybe there's an even better partner or personality that you can share your time with. Maybe there is better. So if you are outside of all of this kind of grease that is happening between people, and all of this scattering between everybody with this Jupiter and Mars in the very social sign of Gemini, and this Pluto and Aquarius and South Node in Libra, as you see, you know, it's all slimy and goopy, and everybody's like rushing around and doing things between themselves or inside themselves, but it's like very nervous. There's a lot of tension, and there's a big build-up in the dragon year, so there's more energy, more room to move, more opportunities or options, and just like a feeling of, what am I doing? Why am I stuck in one place? For some people, there is neurosis because they can feel something's coming and they want something different, or they want to apprehend certain life results, with also North Node and Aries, which can be jumpy and quick to judge, and there's lust and there's obsession and there is like too much philosophies, never mind. So basically, from all of this inertia and all of these extremes, I would probably like to tell you that within the perfect sense of the world, the better part of this particular energy, this chart, is to mean something in the moments of time that you're living. These are magic quantic moments. What you say, think, and do is magic. It isn't about this philosophy between people that is spread between all of these different energies. It's not necessarily about talking or bickering on old people and ancestors and kids, and you know, it's not about humiliating yourself with that. It is more just about having a very astute, logical, strong, and definite feeling, because now it's for real. So, you know, sometimes you're writing, and most of this you will probably never put into your book. You know, sometimes you've written like 1,000,000 pages, but you don't want to put them into your book. Now, this is the stuff that you will keep on your person probably forever. So this is like getting a tattoo. It's not just like getting a tattoo, but it has a very specific stickiness. Like there's a stickiness, and there is no ego anymore. So in certain cases, there is not enough wealth, health, or judgment of a situation, but something's going to work. Some people have lack of resources, some people have lack of potential, lack of understanding, or really lack of humility, and it's kind of all scattered and it's all between other people. So for example, the worst case is every single thing that you do, say, think, or feel is dependent on other people. So it's like, oh, I can't say that, my mom would be so unproud. Oh, I can't post that, that would be terrible. Or I can't wear that, or I can't sing that Jesus will punish me. Or I don't know, like I can't eat that because it's not healthy for me. I can't do this, I can't buy that, it's expensive, you know. So like for some people it's going to be really hard to really find the worldview and the worth that they're looking for, unless you really think about it. Okay, these are my glory days. In some situations there is definitely a special spectrum that is given to some people that are very open and have a lot of essence and balance within themselves, so they can achieve miracles for just a simple congealing of one's truths with one's own heart, you know, understanding the full truth and philosophy of your timeline, recognizing every moment as safe and saintly, realizing there's God in all things, recognizing there is a real truth and a real miracle of life happening all throughout the universe, recognizing that everything is saintly, and releasing all possessions, you know. So releasing is getting a little spiritual now. Sorry, you didn't expect it? Okay. There is like a real need to relax and recognize the beauty and the intense like phenomena of perfection that is taking place in all that is, even if to you it doesn't feel good, you know. So this is when we meet our maker, this is where we meet our mother, you know. This is when we meet our sometimes life partner in a time like this, or this is when you meet yourself, or this is when you recognize from which route or root system your whole body has been, for example, functioning or dysfunctioning. Or you may find suddenly a certain type of you that you didn't think that you would find. So for some people it is about conception of a child. For some people it's about conception of a book or a story. And in certain cases it's not about anything that has to be said or done. It is in the, oh God, this sounds weird, clinical mastery over the now. So this is like super yoga. This is super tantra. This is like a mastery over the very vibration of who you are in the now. Then however you do it, either you do or do not make art, either you do or do not make children, either you do or do not get pets, either you do or do not take care of your home, it actually doesn't matter. And it never should have been ever in your life about the veneer of what other people may or may not think about you. It's more just about the goodness. Oh my God, this took a while. It's about the goodness. Sorry for the older generation. You probably already know everything. Sorry to annoy you or confuse you. Sorry to be a bully. Sorry. Okay. Sorry. Okay. So this is about a solid version of you. It's about the unity of all things. And it is definitely about a certain type of warmth and care that it took always just to feel good. And this might be anywhere. You could be sitting at a bus stop, you could be walking down the street, you could be walking your dog, you could be telling a story, getting a coffee somewhere. It never really had to be anything. But if you did not receive that warmth and that care and kindness from your parents, if you do not understand what unconditional love is, because you simply didn't get brought up that way, then you do need to do some inner work. Then you do need to do some inner hiding and inner crying and inner feeling and inner sensing and in the stuff, internal stuff, there is definitely need for some people building up to this moon to get it straight that they are love. God, this took ages, guys. I have no idea that they are love. It took me forever. This took me so long. I'll be honest. Okay, we all have shortcomings. Okay, it may have taken you ages to be able to relax with somebody. Maybe it takes you ages to fall asleep. Maybe it takes you just so long to accept yourself for who you are. Maybe nothing that you wear fits. Maybe even if you were big or small, it's never the right size. Maybe you don't remember who you are or who you were. So for that reason, we need to somehow put it all together and make it feel better, because you don't want to feel ostracized. And that sense of feeling ostracized or away from the collective that seems to be good for you, like, where's my soul family? Like, you know, you need to start to do the inner work and feel not so ostracized with yourself. So this is something that I've been bringing up in the Patreon a lot. It's about feeling okay, about that driver, about that part of your soul that goes, hey, you never, you know, this enough or that enough. Why aren't you cooking? Why aren't you cleaning? Why can't you find yourself a partner? Why can't you? So that place of growth, and that place of real justice, and that place of also true severity is inside of our soul. And it's not necessarily happening afuera, sorry, that's Spanish. It's not necessarily happening outside, and it's not necessarily happening on the internet. It's not happening even in our families anymore. Some of the time it's just happening on our own personal levels. We're all kind of fighting our own bodies. Sometimes we're fighting our own spirit. We don't know where we are. We can get sometimes lost between the different equations between things, and the fine print and the protocols and the drama. Sometimes the intestinal issues or the mental issues or dental issues or skin issues, you know, because the next sign is Virgo and the previous sign is Cancer. There is a question of health underneath all this flurry, all this madness, and all of this pact making of Leo. There is a fine print of health and healing. Two nurses on either side. Cancer and Virgo are two signs, and in between is Leo. It's like a little nurse sandwich, two nurses with, you know, the healthy, joyful child in the middle. And we have to kind of bring it all out, and we have to sort of speak well to ourselves in the kindness that has to be brought out some of the time. And I'm not sure what really speaks to you. Some people love poetry. Some people love flowers. Some people like to sit in the bath. Some people love to have sex. Some people love to just have somebody near. Some people like to hold a hand. Some people like to cuddle a cat. Sometimes this exquisite time where it's not for show, it's not for play, it's not for the great stage necessarily, it's just for a certain type of kindness that wasn't given to you before. And unfortunately also, as you see with some of my work also as well, you have not been able to say certain things to yourself, or your ancestors were so messed up and muddled up that they haven't actually really developed that closure and that healthiness and that sensitivity within who they are. So, or were, and they couldn't have given that to you. So this is about learning what true love is. It's about learning what care is. It's about learning to accept compliments. It's about learning to accept hugs. It's about learning about your life. It's about learning about the fact that you should have never been demonized or discriminated for whatever that you are or have ever been. It's about learning to love again. In some cases, it's about learning to touch that person with respect, even if you harmed each other to the point where you just bruised, both of you. You know, it's about learning to reach out. It's about writing that letter. If you wanted to, you could help, for example, your mother during this time, or your child. You can try to find new ways and new words to say. You can just hold out your hand and touch somebody else's hand. You know, for some people it is about, you know, religious or kind of sort of like archaic giving and taking, like, oh, I'm going to give to the poor, you know. So it's like charity, and sometimes it's externalized charity. It's like, hey guys, guess what? I'm donating my money to this charity, you know. And some of the time, what you want to watch out for is that you are not over-expressive with certain things. leave them. Like sometimes certain things have to be left kind of way back there and allow them to be buried. Like you don't want to necessarily break your spirit up. You don't want to break up your reality to receive something from underneath. So that's when you need to make sense of the current moment. Who is in your life today? Who are your family today? Who are the people around you today? Touch a hand, hold somebody, hug somebody, share a cup of warm chocolate with them, share a hug. You can share a bed, of course. You can just share time. It's about reaching out and touching a hand and saying, I'll be there. So this is not necessarily about contracts, but to some degree it is, because we do have Saturn there, definitely very strong in Pisces, and then we do have this Neptune kind of an aspect to the moon at a trine, sort of, almost. So there's definitely a very, very dark and big feeling of what happens afterwards. So for example, you have an elderly mother. She may be asking these questions. Or like say you have a daughter that has, for example, issues at home, or like she has issues with her mind, or she's on medication. Don't forget her, you know. So this is like a very, very good and very special time to remember those that are part of the story that you may not speak about or think about every single day. This may be your grandmother, this may be your grandson, this could be somebody in your story. Don't forget them. So this is about romance as well, and for some reason, yeah, it's about cooking and cleaning and doing fun things and fiestas and things like that. And for certain people, yeah, there is a need to be outside of time. Like, I just want to have fun. I just want to blow up a balloon. I just want to go party. I just want to dress up in my finest. I get that. But then we also have to see ourselves through and also make sure that other people don't turn their backs on us when we get older. So for example, you are ignoring your family and you want to be number one. And then when you're older, also this may potentially happen in your life. So this is about also feeling like a reject, all of this, you know, oh, I'm left behind. Trying to find a way to warm up those cold parts of your truth. And that also means, you know, certain demons, certain obsessions, certain negligence, certain OCD, certain mental illness, looking far and wide for something or somebody that doesn't necessarily serve you, also being put into bad situations, like where you are taken advantage of, where you lie to, where everything, yeah, you understand, everything lands badly. And we can actually apprehend most of these bad contrasts between light and dark, as we will actually experience them more in Scorpio. When Scorpio comes in October, November, we will definitely see those karmic contrasts, but we don't need to see them if you just find the time, find the space, and see what is happening inside of you. And if you can actually warm up your heart, maybe just even for a moment, to find some kind of humility and some kind of feeling of being cherished. And sure enough, we are, you know, there's many of us that are broken and burdened and feel very restricted, or feel very hard done by life, or feel opposed by the people constantly, or judged even by ourselves within ourselves. And now it's just more about living a life that is not within those territories, that is not within that rock and hard place. It's just no longer having to be in the cold. And also noticing cruelty as it happens, if you have also always been cruel to yourself. For example, eating badly, sleeping less, talking on the phone a lot, not caring for your nervous system. Now, these are going to come through. Cruelty and cruel behavior with yourself and other people. Also telling your child to do something you know that they don't even need to do. Being cruel to your elders, being cruel to other people, sorry about the noises outside, being cruel to yourself, and then also having, I'm going to get closer to the camera in case it's a little noisy out there. Yeah, so it's also about cruelty, breathing fire, and also finding beauty or love in something that is objectifying or cruel or uncreative, and also watching for that part which really wishes to perfect things without actually knowing what they are. And yeah, any part of your body also, or your mind, that feels naturally constantly adjusted or pushed in place by you while it doesn't want to. So just about meeting the nature within, meeting the God within to a degree, and starting over. starting again. Anyway, thank you so much for connecting. I hope that you had fun or found something interesting. Have a look at my Patreon, because that's where the good stuff is. That's where the good stuff is. And yes, I do have some wildly philosophical videos and audios all over the place. You will find them anywhere, I suppose. Links below. Enjoy. Thank you. Thank you. And I'll see you next time. Bye. Oh, you still here? Okay, I'm gonna go now. I miss you. Okay. Okay, still here? And I now have a TikTok, and it is new, and I'm starting to do reels. If you like, you can follow me on Facebook or Instagram. Banana spread on toast, you send postcards in the post. You probably like cats. You secretly are a cat.